Breaking Decision 2020 news. A judge issues a crucial ruling in the Trump campaign's ballot lawsuit here in Michigan. And a full look at where things stand for Joe Biden and President Trump in the race to 270. Also breaking, Republican John James refusing to concede to Gary Peters in the Senate race, why he says he won't accept the results right now. And a dire prediction from the state's top medical executive as coronavirus cases surge in Michigan. Ahead of the holidays, and just today, we mark 5,700 new cases. That's a record in our state, and 51 new deaths.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
First at 4, breaking developments today as the nation waits for our next president to be named. We have team coverage, but first, the major headlines. A judge has denied the Trump campaign request to stop counting ballots in Michigan. Neither candidate has reached the 270 electoral votes needed to win yet. But at this moment, Joe Biden is maintaining his lead over President Trump. We start with a loss for the Trump campaign here in Michigan. The lawsuit against the state by President Trump's attorneys was filed late Wednesday afternoon. Now, the suit alleges the campaign wanted an election inspector from each party present at each county canvassing board. They also wanted Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson to order surveillance video available of ballot drop boxes. In her ruling, Judge Stevens said the Trump campaign failed to offer solid evidence that any laws were being violated.
I have no basis to find that there's a substantial likelihood of success on the merits as relates to this defendant. Nor am I convinced that there is a clear legal duty on the part of anyone who is properly before this court to manage this issue.
Judge Stevens plans to issue a written order tomorrow. Also breaking, new drama in the hotly contested Senate race in Michigan. Republican challenger John James is refusing to concede, calling for an investigation into votes. Last night, the Associated Press called the Senate race for Democratic Gary Peters. Now, he has a nearly 90,000 vote lead over James. In a statement this afternoon, James says, quote, "When this process is complete, I will, of course, accept the results and the will of the people. But at this time, there is enough credible evidence to warrant an investigation to ensure that elections were conducted in a transparent, legal, and fair manner." Earlier today, Senator Peters spoke about a possible lawsuit from the campaign.
Any of these lawsuits you're talking about, they're frivolous. I would just say to Mr. James and their campaign, accept the opinion and the votes of the people of the state of Michigan. That's the right thing to do.
Now, the John James campaign has not offered any evidence to support a claim of cheating or evidence to support any investigation. Now, to the race to 270. As a handful of battleground states continue to count ballots, here's where things stand right now. Joe Biden is ahead with 264 electoral votes to the president's 214. Kimberly Gill joins us with a look at how the remaining states could come into play.
Hi, Karen. Good afternoon. Mail-in votes are still being counted in key states where the outcome is just too close to call. We're waiting on final results in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and North Carolina. So let's go ahead and take a look at where things. Pennsylvania. This is a look, or we don't have it. Pennsylvania is where the Secretary of State there said we may get results by the end of the day. Most of the hundreds of thousands of unaccounted ballots come from heavily Democratic cities such as Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Let's move on to Georgia now. That's where about 50,000 ballots are still outstanding across the state there. President Trump is up by 12,000 votes there, and there is the graphic. He's up in Georgia about 12,000 votes. As I said, Nevada could push Joe Biden to a win with its 6 electoral votes, but an election official in Clark County, that's the home of Las Vegas, said today most of its ballots won't be ready until sometime this weekend. Listen.
Our goal here in Clark County is not to count fast. We want to make sure that we're being accurate. The results in the state of Nevada obviously are going to be very important to the entire country, and that is our #1 goal.
And the wait for votes has sparked protests on both sides, like this one in Philadelphia. Trump campaign said it's filing a lawsuit in Nevada today over ballot counting, adding to suits already filed in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and here in the state of Michigan. Here in the newsroom, we're continuing to monitor the results, and we'll bring you any updates coming up on the news at 5. Until then, Karen, we'll send it back to you.
Kim. Now it's now official. Congresswoman Haley Stevens has won a second term. The Associated Press called the race this morning. Stevens defeated Republican newcomer Eric Ishaki in the 11th Congressional District, winning by about 10,000 votes. Ballot counting in Michigan is already done, but there are still protests at the TCF Center. Hank Winchester is there.
We are here in front of the TCF Center in the heart of downtown Detroit. Inside, the counting has stopped. The Secretary of State saying that process is now over, legal, and she says fair. But outside, the protesting continues, those representing the president and also those representing the Democrats and VP Biden. Many concerned, they say, with how things played out here, and they have issues about whether the count is in fact legitimate. In fact, the president's team taking this into court today. A challenge by the president's team against Secretary Benson. We were listening in. We have the latest on that and whether there will be anything moving forward. We're going to have that for you tonight at 5 o'clock. And then at 6 o'clock, I'm talking one-on-one with Attorney General Dana Nessel. We'll see you live tonight starting at 5. Back to you.
As the votes were counted inside the TCF Center, we saw some chaotic scenes outside. Paula Tillman spoke to experts to put these protests into perspective, and one says we're witnessing democracy at work.
At the TCF Center in Detroit, where vote counters have been tirelessly working, as President Donald Trump began lagging in the state of Michigan, his supporters showed up and chanted. In Arizona, as presidential candidate Joe Biden's lead began to dwindle, Trump's supporters showed up there to chant, "Where are the votes? Where are the votes?" We asked two of our favorite Oakland University professors, Dave Dulio, Director of Civic Engagement and Professor of Political Science, and Professor Aaron Dwyer from the Department of History, to weigh in on the context of what we're seeing and hearing.
With respect to the scene at the TCF Center, I wouldn't be as discouraged by it or as alarmed by it. I think we said the other day, democracy's messy. You know, these folks are there. They think they're getting a raw deal. They're down there trying to see if that's the case.
To address the president's unfounded assertion that there were not enough Republican observers watching the count, Professor Dwyer sees something else.
You're not seeing internal consistency from Arizona to Michigan because you're seeing a different problem. And
she spoke to some of her friends who were actually vote counters inside the building at the time, who say this was not about continuing democracy, but interrupting it.
A friend of mine who's a poll watcher who was inside the building said primarily why a lot of GOP representatives were getting kicked out is because they're breaking out cameras and taking cell phone pictures, taking cell phone footage, taking off their masks, even yelling racist epithets at people inside that building.
If there are rules that are being violated, that's a no-no.
There were representatives, not just from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, but there were representatives who were independents, Green Party representatives, all watching that election take place, monitoring that election. I do think those crowds outside yelling to stop a Democratic voting count from taking place, I do think in 40, 50 years, those photographs of those maskless crowds yelling during a pandemic will be seen as similar to some of the pictures of crowds with Confederate flag photographs, is the corollary that comes to mind first.
So, of course, our experts will tell you again, democracy is democracy. Protesting is part of democracy at work. Even yelling, screaming, disagreeable, not rioting. That is a conflation. That is something else. But this is part of this imperfect thing that we call democracy when you protest. However, many of those workers inside that fishbowl at TCF will tell you that there was something other than just protesting going on for a lot of those people. Coming up at 5:30, we're going to show you what it's like inside TCF last night and why some of those vote counters actually had to be convinced to stay to do their patriotic duty. Karen?
All right, we look forward to that. Thank you, Paula. We are at a tipping point. That's the message from the state's top medical executive as coronavirus cases hit a record number today. We saw a 5,710 new cases. That's 1,600 more than our previous high. We lost another 51 lives just in the past day. Ron Maloney, live at a press conference today where Dr. Janae Caldoun warned things could get much worse by Christmas. Ron?
Yeah, you know, she was talking about perhaps 100 people a day dying if, in fact, the conditions continue the way they are, with the cases rising as precipitously as they are. At the same time, Michigan is heading back indoors, and we're seeing far more testing than we have. And in fact, the governor even acknowledged that the conditions on the ground here are vastly different than they were back in March and April. But still, it is deeply disconcerting to the governor and many others that the situation is the way it is. And the governor is doubling and even tripling down on one notion: you gotta wear a mask.
Wearing a mask protects our families, it protects ourselves, it protects our frontline workers and our most vulnerable members of our society. It'll help us keep our schools open and allow our businesses to succeed.
And so what she's saying essentially is she needs everybody to mask up. She needs everybody to work together to mask up. She wants people to not spend a lot of time together with family over the holidays. She talks about that very specifically. And she also wants the legislature to help her out. And we're going to have all of that coming up on Local 4 News at 6. Reporting live, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
As the state's positivity rate goes now to 7.5%. All right, thank you, Rod. Well, a marker is stirring up controversy on the internet. Why election officials in Arizona are headed to court over a Sharpie debunking Sharpiegate in today's trending stories. Hey, Ben.
Karen, we've got clouds today. They'll be leaving us tonight. We'll show you what that means for temperatures going forward coming up.
A judge rules against the 4 officers charged with George Floyd's death, the decisions that could impact their trial. But first, a big break in a Metro Detroit case that has gone unsolved for years. Who killed Egypt Covington?